Today we've got the Maiden flight on the Freewing F14 Tomcat twin 80mm. Let's take a look at the upgrades that I've done to this plane, and then we'll get it in the air. First thing is the batteries that we're using. I've got SMC 5200, 5300s, LIHVs, so they charge at 4.35, so you get a little bit higher voltage, so it should give us a little bit longer flight time. We've got the nose brace up front, the single battery tray, which you notice it removes the platform. Normally the second battery sits up higher, and that's why they've hollowed out the canopy. This one also has the 5280RC afterburners, and it's got the main gear brace underneath the clamshell, so it's supposed to help support the main gears and make it a little bit more rigid with the weight and the landings. We've got an overcast day today, so a little bit more clouds, and hopefully the 5280RC afterburners will show up a little bit better. We've got the wings swept back on the ground right now. When we get it in the air, we're going to have the wings out. Probably won't sweep them on the maiden flight, but on the flight review, maybe some future videos, we're going to have them swept back. I've got it on a Spectrum 10-channel receiver. It's the 10360T. I've got everything on its own surface, so when we sweep the wings back in future videos, we're going to have the ailerons on the back with the elevators controlling roll and pitch. Good looking bird overall without even adding some of the upgrades on it. It's got the lights, it's got the scale landing gears. I mean, just a great looking bird. It is an older plane, so hopefully the mods that's done to this one, maybe they'll implement that and maybe a V2 version down the road. But we've talked about this Tomcat long enough. Let's get it in the air.
Taking off. Go a little bit of right, a little bit of up. Them afterburners ain't working, but it's all good. Seems to be flying good right there. It all seems good. Elevator seems good. I'm gonna bring it in. Put the gear down.
Time remaining 2 minutes. Landing flaps.
I'm doing an approach right here just to see how the pitch feels on it. See how it feels. Landing. I think on the next fly, maybe put a little bit more flaps into it. Yeah. It floats a little bit more than figure. It's gonna go in the grass, but whatever.
Now we've got the maiden flight completed on the Freewing F14 Tomcat. Let's take a look at the few parameters and then talk about the post-flight review and the initial review on how it flew. We stayed up in the air for about 2.5 minutes. I had it on a 3.5 minute timer. We got 54 seconds left on useful throttle. So we went around once, could have went around again. Came a little bit faster than expected. We'll talk about that in a second. So we've got our batteries here. Let's take a look at our cell voltage. We'll do it on the front one first. And one thing I noticed when we took off, that it lifted out really well, especially with the power system. So you take a look at that right there, 71% on the front battery, which is great. I mean, we weren't even on the throttle that hard, so you know, it's to be expected that we had quite a bit left, and we only flew it for just a little bit. These planes, even though they're heavy with the wings that they have on it and the lift, they fly around very easy from what I saw, especially for a heavy bird. I think this one with the batteries installed, they come around 11 pounds flying weight. So let's look at the back one here. And the back one's at 70%, so there's a 2% difference. Now I did have the 5280RC afterburner hooked up. However, I forgot to test it before we went up in the air, and the receiver's right here, so I already had the clamshell and everything put back on. Future flights we'll get up there, or look for some shorts on the YouTube channel. We'll post up some passes with the afterburner, you know, activated. So I have to just check that out. But let's talk about the positives. Took out great, pulled a little bit to the right. I noticed that when I was taxiing out, but it wasn't bad enough to have to go over here and correct and everything. It just gave a little bit of left going down the runway. Didn't take off with any flaps. 330-foot runway by about 200 feet, 250. Lifted out, felt smooth taking out. Pulled the gear up. Wasn't rolling too much. It rolled a little bit to the left, so I gave it some right aileron and up elevator, and plane flew really smooth. Once I did that, I did a couple of passes by, put the gear back down, and then I put the flaps down, and it wanted to pitch up on me. So I actually gave it some down elevator on the fly. I had a little bit of up in it because I've seen these want to dive down, so I figured I'd try to even it out, but I put a little too much. Wasn't that far off. It was 3 to 4, maybe 5%, you know, off as far as, you know, getting it to fly level. Coming in though, when I came in on the first one, I just rode a little bit of power, came in a lot faster than I expected. I went around, you can see only about half power, maybe 65%. It went around with no problem. Came back in, decided to set it down. I thought we would at least use more battery than we did, but we hardly use any battery, so we could have went around again. However, one thing I did notice when I came down, when we took off, we were taking off into the wind. When we landed, the wind had shifted and we were landing downwind, so that accelerated the speed. Touchdown was nice, flew great. We had to roll off in the grass because we had that tailwind and a little bit extra speed. But, you know, with the reinforcements on here, I just let it roll at an angle into the grass over there where it's flat, and the gear mods held up with no problem. If I was coming into the wind, I don't think it would have been any problem because it definitely would have slowed this bird down. And, you know, I wanted to get a little bit more wind outside to help it slow down and get a little bit more lift under the wings. I may put a little bit more flaps in down the road. That might help too, but I had a pretty aggressive flap deployment on it. So, but that's how it goes. You know, sometimes the variables change as far as the air and direction and the wind speed when you're in the air, and sometimes it happens. However, the plane came down safely and we can fly it some more. So hope y'all enjoyed the video today. If you did, go ahead and push like. If you want to see future videos, subscribe to the channel while you're here. I appreciate y'all watching, and we'll see you on the next one.